You're not stuck. You're just living the same days, weeks, months and years over and over and over and over and over again. Because one of the saddest things that can happen to a person isn't failure, isn't losing money or getting your heart broken. It's waking up one day, looking back over the last 5 or 10 years and realising although you've been incredibly busy, you've somehow ended up in almost exactly the same place. You haven't stood still. In fact, you've probably worked hard, gone to work, paid your bills, looked after your family, gone to the gym when you could, listened to podcasts, audio books, watched motivational videos, and told yourself that this year would finally be the year that everything changed. Yet somehow, life still feels strangely familiar. And although you're replaying the same chapter with slightly different scenery, and I know that because I've lived it for years. And the strange thing is, when you're inside it, you don't realise it's happening. You mistake constant movement for progress and you convince yourself that because you're exhausted, you must be moving forwards. But exhaustion isn't progress. They're not the same thing. You can spend years running flat out in a circle and still end up exactly where you started. Because when I was battling addiction, I genuinely believed every Monday morning represented a fresh start. I'd wake up convinced that this week will be different, that this would finally be the week I got my life together, got clean, and for a couple of days, I'd actually believe it. Then something would happen. I'd fall back into the same old patterns, make the same old decisions, and end the week carrying the same shame that I'd been trying to escape from in the first place. And at the time, I thought the drugs were my biggest problem, but looking back, they really weren't. They were simply one symptom of a much deeper problem. Even after I got clean, I realised I was still living the exactly same way. I'd simply swapped one escape for another, and instead of escaping through substances, I escaped through constant achievement. I convinced myself that if I just made more money, built a better physique, won another boxing title, or proved enough people wrong, I'd finally feel like I'd become the man that I was supposed to be. But the frightening part is that every time I reached one of those goals, the feeling disappeared almost as quickly as it arrived. And for a day or two, I'd feel on top of the world. Then my mind would quietly move the finish line or the goalpost again and whisper that the next achievement would finally make everything feel worthwhile. Because I spent years chasing a destination that didn't exist because I was trying to solve an internal problem with external success. And everything changed because of one idea that completely transformed the way I looked at life. Somebody explained that most people spend their lives walking in circles, but the people who build extraordinary lives aren't walking in circles at all. They're building upward spirals. And at first, it sounded like nothing more than a clever phrase. But the more I thought about it, the more I realised how true it was. A circle always brings you back to exactly where you started, whereas a spiral appears to revisit the same places while quietly lifting you higher every time. So when you look at someone who's been training consistently for 10 years, you don't see 10 years of workouts, you simply see the finished result. What you don't see are those thousands of ordinary mornings when they didn't feel like training, but went anyway. Because each session wasn't really about building muscle. Every session was another vote for the identity of the man that they were becoming. The same thing happened in my own life, although I don't recognise it until I stand and look back at it. Every gratitude list I wrote, every therapy session I attended, every uncomfortable conversation I stopped avoiding, every journal, every meditation session, every subconscious reprogramming session that almost felt insignificant on its own. Because none of them produced some dramatic Hollywood transformation overnight, but together they slowly reshaped the way I thought about myself and my life and the way I responded to setbacks and, more importantly, the way I saw myself. That was the real breakthrough. So I stopped chasing motivation and started building an identity. Because once your identity changes, your decisions begin to almost happen automatically. Those decisions become habits. Your habits build your reputation creates opportunities, and eventually people look at your life and assume you just got lucky, never realising they're looking at the result of 1,000 ordinary days that nobody even clapped for. That's exactly why I created Gratitude and Growth. It wasn't because I wanted to motivate people for an hour before they returned to exactly the same life. It was because I had experienced firsthand what happens when someone stops chasing quick breakthroughs and start building a life that quietly compounds, one honest decision and one small day at a time. So if you're watching this and you recognize yourself in this story, if you've reached a point in your life where you're tired of repeating the same day, week, month and year with different dates on the calendar, then I encourage you to stop looking for another piece of information and start looking for perspective. Click the link in this description and book your breakthrough call, because for 60 minutes we'll go deep and uncover the patterns you've been too close to see. Identify where your life's becoming a circle instead of a spiral, and if we're the right fit, I'll show you what rebuilding that spiral could look like over the next 90 days, because the biggest lie we tell ourselves is one day our life's just going to magically change. But the truth is far more simple than that. Your life changes on a random, ordinary Tuesday morning when you quietly cast another vote for the person that you're becoming. And you keep doing it long enough that one day you look in the mirror and realize you didn't just change your habits, you changed your whole identity. And that changes everything. So I'll see you in the next video, but don't bother clicking on the next video if you're not going to go to the description and book your one-to-one breakthrough call, where we'll go deep on exactly what's holding you back and how to move forward to build a life that you're genuinely excited to wake up and live. Let's go.